Well, I saw a question that you have in your on your poster, which I like quite a lot, which is what sort of strategies, if any, I think that there are some strategies which should be, I don't know if adopted, but which can I don't know, influence the West in many ways, and this is the way in which the market economy and democracy was implemented here. And I think that because it was such an interesting laboratory. I mean, like, more or less this system, the economical and political system of the West, is more or less taken for granted there. And here it was not. Here it was, like, created and implemented. So people had a better opportunity than in the West to really analyze it. What does it mean? What democracy and market economy really is. So a lot of like interesting questions and interesting opinions about this system occurred here rather than in the West. I think it's like an experiment. It's like a laboratory where you don't have the answers, but you have a situation, a recreated situation, and from that recreated situation you can understand. It's like, let's say, this perverse social phenomenon, let's say, like the Stanford experiment, for example. It's historical engineering. But I wouldn't be that dramatic to say that it was done in with a cold-blooded attitude, just to see what would happen there and so on. So I think it's, part of the way in which history works.
But you do think there's somebody directing the experiment?
No.
No.
No. If someone would have directed it, it would have, carried out much better.
All questions are valid now, because Romania is like living in three separate ages, like 60s and 80s and then 2005. I mean, we can exemplify in this culture here the biggest contrast you can ever imagine. In this sense, now Romania is very picturesque in this sense, that is producing a lot of visual kind of contradiction or a visual. In this sense, Romania, in general, even in politics and even in culture, is more honest, because it's a brutally saying, it's like visible what you see. It's not very subtle. It's brutal. You see this, and maybe this is an inner kind of language we have. I think all your questions from this banner are appropriate. Are valid. The necessary questions are the basic questions, I think. Who like, you are, what you want to do, why like this, how this kind of very basics, I think.
Who are you?
I'm a citizen of this Western culture, and of this year, this after 2000 year. And I try to live up to this kind of splendid chart of human rights, and
Why?
Because I like it. I like, and I think it's very humanistic and very open and very important for the. And I think I want to be one of the. I want to contribute to the humanity of this society. And this was interesting for me. That somehow this political geography who shifts all the time in this territory here left somehow the people intact. They are not so schizophrenic as they may be. No, I think. Of course, we are very talented in complaining, which is our natural feature, and also our natural feature is not to finish the thing. We drop it at halfway, we stop it, and then we build a new one. But this is part of this metabolism, and somehow this metabolism finds some ways to appear. Now, you have this kind of very strange perception, like when it's after this kind of European frenzy, you say, but Switzerland, this is not in Europe. Then like Austria, this is not in NATO. So we have a very strange perception about things, because we believe we have to be in this, in order to qualify as being civilized.
we didn't intended to just shock people in a visual way, but we're well aware that this works. Just when I came here, I heard on BBC or something that people that are causing so much trouble in France, they consider themselves to be invisible, and the rest of the society is treating them as invisible. It's the same problem here in Romania with extreme poverty. They're not visible. So we're trying to make this thing visible, and photography is the easiest way to do it, but we try to be objective. I mean, we could place images of absolute horror, but we didn't. The concept of public space is not precisely defined in Romania, so people are trying to privatize public space. That's the problem with taking pictures on the street. They don't know what is public and what is private. Romania has a problem in this respect, which is not very nice for a photographer, but it's nice from the way you can enter some very private spaces or how they expand. It's an expression of energy. When you go and you try to get some knowledge about these people, you're very much like an explorer going somewhere, like Levi-Strauss going in Amazonia. And it's not. I mean, they're real people like me and you, and the part we can share is very, very large. So the capacity to adapt yourself to whatever hard things are bearing on you. I think you must continuously go back to the roots, because humanity comes from this very poor people. I mean, what we invent and what we value in our lives is the very, very simple facts, like family, health, friendship, and these things are very much outlined in an extreme poverty environment. That's all they have, because they don't have ownership. They have their family. We're trying to fight not people and institutions, but stereotypes. I mean, we're accusing a lot of stereotypes governing all the policy around this issue, like that one that is an ethnical issue, and it is not. It's more like a social discrimination. And we're right now trying to gather as much support from people who already did that. I mean, it's not that new, and there are a lot of sociologists and institutes that are researching the quality of life. So let's say we, people from the technical part, we very much agree between ourselves. Politicians are like, okay, we know, and the rest of the society is like, that's too much of this. We're busy, don't bother us. So we're trying to bother them in a way.